There we go. All right. Now, it looks like we are going to be getting started now here. I want to thank you guys so much for joining the Royal We. And it is 9:07, 7 minutes after 9 o'clock p.m. Thank you so much for joining. Hey, Tanya Millett, how are you? And I'm excited to be here on a Monday night. Excited to get started. I'm going to wait just a few minutes. I tried to get the show started about 10 minutes ago, and for some reason, it was not syncing up. The OBS platform that I use in YouTube was not working, but now it's working. And I'm excited to be here on a Monday night to talk with you guys about healing from narcissistic abuse. Tonight, I'm going to give you some insight as to what I'm going to be talking about in the next and the final organic video in this series of struggles that you have coming out of narcissistic abuse. And of course, these struggles that you've been watching and following on the organic channel, the first one being RK, which is rebuilding, starting over, starting your life over from ground zero. That was the first video called Rebuild. That's a biblical principle, right? It comes from the Greek word arche. It's a real struggle. Rebuilding, being at ground zero, a real struggle that the ancient Greek people understood and even included it in the ancient writings of the Bible. The next one, the last video you watched, was exousia, which is an authority that's actually spoken over your life. Turns into a delegation, if you will. That's the best and the closest translation we have of that is a delegated authority. A lot of people still ask that question. You know, they want to know, Kevin, talk about the psychological effects of projection and gaslighting. Well, that's the psychological effects. Exousia. It becomes a real struggle where you live under this delegation or a curse, if you will. That curse is a delegation. You feel that your delegated role in life now is to be toxic and unworthy and unlovable and on this and on that, all because of the interaction with this toxic relationship and their projection. Projection turns into delegation. Now then, next week's video is going to be the last and final phase of this series. It's going to be the final struggle of this series. It's a big one. And I'm going to talk about that in this video. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what that video is going to present conceptually for you and how it's going to help you. Let me go ahead and say hi to some people who are here. How's it going, Taylor Zabel? Good. I'm glad you're doing good. Let's say, who else here? D. All the moderators are here. We've got a show full of moderators tonight. That's fantastic. D, good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. D, were you here last week? I don't believe you were here last week. Taylor, good to see you. Tanya, it's good to see you too. Carol Peterson, it's good to see you. Vindicative, how are you? It's good to see you. Free to be me. Hello, Jill. Hello. Looks like people are starting to pour in, and that's good. So we'll go ahead and get started with some of the basic stuff that we always go through on the Royal We when we get started. So first and foremost, let me go ahead and get to my stuff here, if I can find it. I don't know where it's at. Where is it? Where is it? I don't know. It disappeared. Hang on a second, guys. I'm experiencing some kind of a weird little technical difficulty, I think. I don't know what's going on here. It looks like the stream is healthy, so that's good. But I don't know where my OBS went, which is where everything is at. That's really, really wild. This is so weird, guys. Okay, so I don't know what's going on. I don't know if I'm going to be able to... can you guys... Technology, I tell you, it is weird sometimes. Like my OBS platform just disappeared. There it is. Okay, I found it. Thank goodness. Okay. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started, guys. So Tonight's Royal We Live is brought to you by the Patreon members. Thank you so much for all of you who are supporting through Patreon. There's 15 people right now who are supporting, and it's very grateful for you. You are what's keeping the Royal We Live going. The goal is to get to 300, however long that takes. And my hope and my goal with the Royal We Live is to be able to go live every single night as a platform to help people to heal, to ask questions, to find out what it is they need to know to get through their abusive situation and to heal from narcissistic abuse. And so consider donating and becoming a Patreon member. And with that, we also have the mod squad, the moderators. Thank you so much for everything that you do. Moderators, Taylor, she puts the dream in hashtag the dream team. I'm going to put a little music in there for you, Taylor, right there. There you go. Blue is here to link you up. Tanya gives the best virtual hugs on the internet. And D-Doll is queen of the one-liners. And that is some intense music. But thank you so much for the moderators. Be sure to give them a lot of love. Don't hesitate to ask them any questions. They're here for you. And they really keep the Royal We going as far as the community is concerned. Also, check out the Facebook group. Join the Royal We on the Facebook group. They'll actually post links for you. It's also a great place for you to be able to find some support that you need. And with that, let's go ahead and get started. I'll go ahead and put the phone number up while we talk about tonight's topic. So tonight we are going to be talking about the video that's going to be coming up in next week that I'm currently working on right now. And the topic is going to be the third and final struggle, right? That when we talk about the struggles coming out of narcissistic abuse, there's a common thread coming out of narcissistic abuse. There's a commonality that we all share, and we all feel stuck. Not only do we feel stuck, we feel broken. We feel like we have nothing. We feel like, we can't move forward. We're fighting in our heads. And then there's another struggle. And so I looked and I searched and I tried to figure out, even in my own life, what's going on. What is the struggle? And that's where I found the biblical principles that really stood out to me, that you can find in Ephesians 6:12, where the actual scripture says it's not flesh, for we don't wrestle against flesh and blood, but powers and principalities and rulers. And I have always known that scripture, but I never quite understood what it means. It didn't make sense. Why would he say we don't wrestle and we don't struggle against flesh and blood, but all these other things that you really can't see? And it really just inspired me to look into what the original text had said. Because as you know, we read an English translation, and so much gets lost in translation. The meaning of things gets lost. And so when you look at just the English version of this, where it just says we don't struggle against flesh, but powers and principalities, well, that can mean anything. And we could push that really far away to not really apply to our lives. It's a power, it's a principality, it's a demon. I don't know, right? That's typically. But when you look at what the ancient text was actually saying, what were the Greek authors? What were the apostles at the time? What were the ancient people trying to tell us, right? And so when I found the Greek words, my eyes were wide open into some amazing things. And so, as we talked about, out of Ephesians 6:12, we have arche, which is the first word, which is used to describe a rebuilding, which is also a ruler in your life, because you're ruled, you're governed by where you're at. So if you're at a place of starting over, that's what rules you. You're under that rulership. That's arche. And so you're looking at a clean, broken down, void, empty place wherever you're at in life coming out of narcissistic abuse. Things have been ripped away from you, but it's for a reason. You need to be in this dark, void place, because this is what you're going to rebuild from. The second struggle is exousia. That's the second struggle that's listed by the ancient Greek people. And exousia is a authority or a power, but it's also reference to delegation, authorization. And so if you put that together, you can see that delegation, which is our English translation to try to understand this. Delegation is an authority that you can have over your life. It's a power you can have over your life. We see this all the time. I mean, look at it in a job position. If somebody gets delegated as a boss or a superior, you ever notice how all of a sudden they perk up, and all of a sudden it's not just the fact that they're getting paid more, but they live this new role, right? There's something powerful about delegation, but we only talk about delegation in the form of a promotion. How many of you realize that, like we talked about, delegation, a delegation could be a negative thing. You could be delegated to be a lowly, horrible person. Happens all the time. Listen, young kids growing up in bad neighborhoods who are told all their life that they're just nothing but thugs and gangs and this and that, they grow up to be that. Why? Because they were delegated that. That spoken delegation becomes a curse. This is powerful stuff, guys. And I'm just scratching the surface of this stuff, trying to understand this. But it's real. This delegation is an unspoken authority. Okay. And so when we talk about the projection, this is why that last video was so important. And I still don't, even with all the work I put into it to dramatize it and this and that, I still don't think I adequately expressed what needs to be expressed about the power and the authority of delegation in people's lives. It's powerful stuff, right? It's beyond. It's otherworldly when we really get into this, okay? The next one, all right, now that I've really hammered that one down, hammered that to the board, the next one coming up is going to be the third and final struggle, and that's listed, and it's called, the ancient Greek word is kosmokphator, and I've heard this before, actually in a congregation once, and I believe the person who was teaching it when I listened to it a long time ago said cosmocrator, cosmocrator, but that's not it. It's kosmokphator, and kosmokphator is actually referring to more of a spiritual influence. Okay. However, when I look into this, the spiritual influence is of worldliness. It also ties into worldliness. So where I'm going to be going with the video coming up as the third struggle is that the third struggle is worldliness. This is where we struggle with the influence of worldliness as a distraction, okay? Because it all goes back to where we're at, our K, our empty place, the void. That's our spot, and we have to build it. While we're building it, we have to beat and confront the delegations that have been spoken over our life. And now we also have to confront, acknowledge, and resist the temptation of what? The world, the worldliness, which constantly surrounds us as a temptation. While you are broken, while I am broken, and we look outside of our area, our broken void area, what do we see? We see people having fun. We see people going out. We see people having drinks. We see people meeting. And we can look over there and say, man, I don't want to be in this broken place anymore. I want to go that way. And we take that bait. That is kosmokphator. Kosmokphator. That's it. That is the enemy, so to speak, as the ancient Greek people referred to it, the evil influence that calls you, look, the grass is greener on the other side. Don't stay there and try to clean up your mess. But here's the problem with it. Every time you try to step over that line, go to where you think the grass is greener, go to party, go to meet new people. First of all, this is how you run right smack into narcissists again. You get dragged out of your area where you're supposed to be building for the promise of something that's more fun. You get back with another narcissist, but guess where you always end up? right back in arche, your mess, right? So it doesn't matter. You are ruled by arche, no matter what. Your mess that you have to clean up, the destruction, being at ground zero. So it doesn't matter. Even if you do take the bait, even if cosmic fator, right, the struggle of worldliness does come and whisk you away, it's going to drop you off right back, cleaning up your mess, because your mess hasn't been cleaned up, right? Your life hasn't been built yet, right, or rebuilt. And so there's no escaping that place. So this is the trap, right? So the solution to this is to focus on where you're headed, what you're doing, and what you're rebuilding in your life. That is the focus. Hope that makes a lot of sense. And with that, I want to go ahead and open up the phone lines for the telephone calls. I'll get the telephone number back up there. Should be telephone line is back up there. So let's go ahead and open up the phone lines. You're welcome to call in at any time. And while we're waiting for some telephone calls, I'll go ahead and answer some emails, because we do have some emails that have come in. The first email question that I do want to answer is actually from a Patreon member, which, by the way, thank you so very, very, very much. And go ahead and switch the screens. And if somebody can post the telephone number so that people know that they are welcome to call. And so Monique from Patreon, she asked this question. She says, can I make a request? And first of all, thank you, Monique, for your Patreon support. It is so greatly appreciated. Thank you so much for that. May I make a request on the psychological damage of projection and gaslighting? And so the psychological damage of projection and gaslighting is this is fitting. It's perfect, because this is exactly what we're talking about. We got a call from Pennsylvania. Hang on one second, caller from Pennsylvania, and I will be right there. But this is exactly what we're talking about. This is exousia, the psychological damage. This is the curse that's spoken over your life. The gaslighting, the projection turns into delegation as it's absorbed into you, into your subconscious. You absorb it, and the longer you stay involved in the toxic relationship, subconsciously you start to fulfill that role until you finally say, no, I'm done. I'm out of this, because you know that you have more self-worth, but you're broken as you get out, and you still, even though you're out, you're still dealing with the fact that this stuff was spoken over your life, because it was never supposed to be spoken over your life, because you were never supposed to be in that relationship. And so the effects are horrible. The delegation is horrible. The exousia is horrible. And that is a struggle that even the ancient Greeks had written about. Our struggle is with exousia. And see, it's not something that you can see. This is not something that you could any longer blame the narcissist for, because the narcissist and the toxic relationship is over. You don't talk to them anymore. You're not seeing them anymore, right? This exousia now lives, it's in you. It's present. It's all around you. It follows you wherever you go. This is your struggle. This is what you need to work against, resist, stand against. This is what you need to struggle against with whatever help you can get, either prayer, a community like the Royal We. This is your struggle. Exousia. Acknowledge that. It's delegation. You're struggling with the delegation spoken over your life, a delegation that you do not deserve and you don't have to accept. And this is why the end of the video is important, where I talk about how you need to accept your original delegation, which you were given at birth. That's your birthright. You were delegated before you were even born to be a part of a family of healing, of beauty, of believers. That's your true delegated role. And see, you settled for less when you got involved with the narcissist. You settled for a broken person, a broken entity. You settled for that and allowed them, that brokenness that existed before you even got there, you allowed that brokenness to now be spoken over your life. And now you're struggling with that delegation, right? So it's very, very deep. Let's go ahead and take this call from Pennsylvania. You're live on the Royal We.
Good evening to you, Kevin. This is Antonio Silva, although on the chat room there it comes up as a different pseudonym now. It goes by Lieutenant Silva, but it's Antonio Silva. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Well, it's an interesting choice of topic. I mean, well, obviously the main topics are always going to be about coming out of narcissistic abuse and all of that. However, in terms of or dealing with narcissistic abuse, your topic choice today in terms of the struggle after, or then the sequence of videos you're doing is, boy, again, I guess got to keep saying right on time, because
Good.
I'm coming through right now. Let me see, trying to map out the time here. It's a month and about going on 2 weeks of no contact. However, within a week or two will be these timings kind of almost merge in memory, you know. It'll be a year when I first became aware of who I became involved with. So that's you know, as that's on the precipice, as also I've come off the aftermath of no contact. It's like this converging is starting to really, you know, like the pieces there. And then I'm dealing with a lot of I think you've referenced this in different videos before too. Like when you have moments to yourself, your mind's going to wander.
Right.
So you'll reflect back or harken back to maybe pleasant times, because again, you don't be around somebody who's altogether, you know, unpleasant until the moment that facade dropped. You know, so you think back of pleasant times, and now the memory is discombobulated because it wasn't like this. Yet, if I think about a pleasant time, instantaneously it flashes to the times of the stress. And I'm struggling with that right now. I mean, I guess it's what you call, or what others have called, like the CPSD, or the complex post-traumatic stress disorder, or I like to call it shell shock.
Yeah.
Because it shocked I've actually come to a point where I use the term, and it's not something I came up with, I use the term shocked the hell out of me. And you know what? Because I was involved with someone I shouldn't have been involved with, doing things I shouldn't have been doing, and going places I shouldn't be going.
That's the motto.
The hell was shocked out of me.
Yeah.
So I can get the heaven back in me.
Right.
So that's what I mean. I'm kind of at that right now, and I'm just, you know, I'm also, again, something that you have conveyed in many of your videos is the idea that when you want to go no contact, if it be best possible, just go no contact without ever letting them know anything about it. Just go no contact. If it's, you know, just basically, you know, remove them from your life, and, you know, don't even consider the idea that you have to, you know, make some proclamation about it. Yet for my circumstance, it was not conducive, because she had to retrieve items, and it actually did play out where we were able to at least leave it peaceful and amicable.
Right.
You know, and that was a blessing to me. And in the midst of that, now this is something again, I'm a man of my word. And as long as she asked, would you be willing to check in on me? And I said, well, that's the key phrase. If I'm willing to, you have to allow me to do it. If you broach and cross that line and then try to, you know, disturb me while I'm trying to receive the healing, as I'm trying to no longer be, you know, part of your life, and then then don't think I'm going to want to even have anything to do with you. It has to be if I ever build the wherewithal. And that's the thing. I know there's no contact yet. Because there's one caveat in this, is that in the midst of this, I did lead her, or by her. Again, I can't look at anybody's heart. By the fruit you may know, yet only Yahweh knows. She did profess faith in the Lord. She prayed for salvation. So in that regard, I kind of want to, whenever I can do it, it ain't going to be any time this year. Yet it's an idea like, well, and a neutral, if ever to be in personal contact, it'll be a neutral location. It won't be where a lot of this turmoil happened, where I resided.
Right.
Yet I mean, it's got to be. I mean, I'm nowhere near that now. There's no way it's happening anytime soon, if it were to ever happen at all.
It sounds to me like you have a healthy understanding of going no contact, though, and boundaries. And so I believe you handled that good. You said if I'm going to check on you, it will be when and how and if I decide to, right? Which is
Right.
great. Which is great because you're taking the power into that, and that's really all that matters. Because and hopefully you'll do the right thing, right? But at
My desire
least
to,
you're
yeah.
not, yeah, but at least you're not sitting back and continuing to allow this person to but at the same time, it sounds like she might be, right? And so it still seems like there's
Well,
a lot of
no,
work
no,
to be
no.
done in there.
I mean, she has held up her end for the most part. There were a few minuscule, again, nothing that were like a deal breaker per se. It was just maybe some misunderstanding, and then I put the kibosh on it, and then there hasn't been. So predominantly, peace has happened, and it was like an indirect, yet once it was spoken that no, you can't. It was accepted. There was no, disputing about it. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
again, those are kind of like indications that there may be, because I know there some people's perspectives on this is that there is no changing. Again, nobody can change anybody unless somebody wants to change themselves.
That's
However,
it.
when it comes to the distinction between being full blown narcissistic personalities or those who have narcissistic traits, could there possibly be? Again, you don't hold out hope because you only can concern yourself. You can only be concerned with yourself
Right.
and your well being.
That's it.
Yet, and the other aspect is, okay, well, I would say, and again, now having the scales removed from my eyes, I did start to see some slight movements in the right direction with her. It just needed to end though, because I was so drained, so exhausted, so to the point where my well-being I was not who I needed to be, who
not.
I was designed to be. Right. Like you said, the designation the delegation that I should not have taken, yet it was being accepted by me.
Right.
I needed to basically remove that and get back to who I was, because I'll tell you it's one of these anecdotal things. I once said, because we met each other on Twitter, and I once made a proclamation that because of the kind of person I am, once you come into my life and you don't cross me, I'm loyal. So I said that she would have to get rid of me because I would not go anywhere. And by default, she did. Because of the way she treated me, she pushed me away. So the other aspect of it is too, when I think that a multifaceted way in terms of getting rid of me, because of the way she degraded me and the way I was being devalued and actually accepting that delegation. My mother was here at a time, and she was trying to kind of, gently, meekly, but still firmly trying to let me know that this was not it, and I wasn't receiving it because my ears had been blocked up, my eyes had been, scaled up. I couldn't see it, and I just wasn't. That my mom's later on, as she went in diligent prayer, the prayer of the righteous avails much. That she said, I had to do it, and I cried out because I said to the God, that's not my son. So in essence, because of this, she was also getting rid of me in terms of the reputation or my personality. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the whole extent of things that, at least, and that's why so she might have been, making some headway and some slight, it needed to end. I had no more left in me. She had taken and drained everything out of me.
And I want to talk about that because it can go into a real dark place. Now, just if I remember correctly, was this woman was married, correct?
Yes.
Okay,
That she was married, and again, let me just qualify. Not qualify. Let me give you this much. They had basically how you say, announced a trial separation to each other. They just never.
Right.
They had never addressed it and ironed it out. So basically, for me to ever be involved, if the marriage is on the rocks, it never gave me any right to come over and kick them. You get what I'm saying?
Right. You know what I mean? No, that's okay. Yeah. That's okay. But it's just. It's important. We'll go ahead and wrap up this phone call right here and allow some other people to call in. But I want to talk a little bit. I want to talk. Yeah, no, thank you for calling, Antonio. I appreciate it. But I want to talk a little.
Have a good one.
You too, bud. Thanks. I want to talk a little bit about one of the things that we see in this narcissistic culture and society, you have to be very careful. Even when you start to believe that you're seeing changes, especially when it comes to faith. All right. And I'm not judge. Well, I'm going to take that back because we are called to judge, right? We are called to judge each and every situation that we come across. That authority has been given to us. And if we are not judging the situations and the relationships and the people we're coming across, then we will be open to whatever the enemy may have in store right behind that person or that situation, right? So we are called to be to judge, and I know it's difficult because one of the things that narcissists will tell you is don't be judgmental. You're judgmental. You think you're better than everybody because they want to take from you. They want to do whatever they want to do. They want to enter into worlds of sin. They want to tear you down, break you down. But this is besides the point. One of the things that I've seen in this crazy upside down narcissistic culture that we're living in is you will have people, especially in these situations they should not be in, such as adulterous affairs. And I actually watched an episode of Crime Watch Daily. I don't know if any of you guys are guilty of watching that show, but it's every now and then I watch it. It's beyond me. These people out there and what they do. And I literally saw a couple who professed to be believers and it had an adulterous affair throughout the relationship, had multiple, I guess, it had what's called an open marriage, right? Already, but called themselves faithful believers in an open marriage. Met a guy, one of the guy decided to go ahead and have the woman's husband, he killed the woman's husband. Pulled a complete King David out of the Bible, right? Had the woman's husband, or killed the woman's husband, and literally, as part of the trial, they played their phone conversations to each other, or throughout the trial in the court, as evidence. And over the phone conversations, you can actually hear these sick people in their phone conversations praying over the phone after the adulterous affairs and after the murder of a man. They're praying, "Wow, this is God's will that we are to be together. Let's just pray that this is going to go smooth." They just killed somebody, for crying out loud. It makes me want to puke in my mouth. You know, forgive me, but it's disgusting and it's disturbing. And what does that have to do with what I was hearing the telephone call with Antonio is when you're in a situation you know you're not supposed to be in, it does not even matter at that point. When the actions, it does not even matter if you start to profess and say, "Oh, I believe in God, and I'm going to pray that God's going to work a miracle." If what you're doing in the flesh is evil and perverse and dark, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And I've experienced this too in my own situation with narcissistic abuse countless times. Here I am in this situation with a person saying, I'm trying to find peace, and I'm really trying to talk and find peace, but what I'm getting from this abusive, cursing, name-calling individual is, "I'm going to pray for you. I'm going to pray that," this is how she would talk to me. "I'm going to pray that God opens your eyes to how selfish and toxic and judgmental and this and that and blah, 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 blah." Just diarrhea out of the mouth. Nonstop. And they do it as though God is on their side in some evil way, that God is with the narcissist attacking people. That is the upside down, sick, twisted, delusional, narcissistic culture and world we live in, and it's going to get worse. And the Bible talks about this. What is white will become black. What's black will become white. What's wrong will become right. What's right will become wrong. True faith is going to become wrong at some point. And everything wrong about faith, killing, murder, calling people names, breaking people down, cussing people out, all this stuff is going to be done in the name of faith in God. How sick is that, family? The Bible says this, have nothing to do with such people. This is why it says that. And so, Antonio, if you're still listening, the message to you in this comes out of 2 Timothy. Have nothing to do with these people. Nothing. That's for your safety, because God loves you, and God knows that this is happening in the world. That there are people running out professing, I'm changing, I'm a good person, I'm a Christian, and they won't hesitate to literally kill somebody. That's the sick world. And you got to ask yourself, what God are these people serving? What God is being served? Right? It is sick. It is sick. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and answer some more of the email questions. If we don't get another telephone call here. This is from Nellie. Nellie writes, hey, there, I'm going to do my best to summarize this question. It says, I'm currently in a situation where I am torn and confused. I've now figured out that I'm married to a narcissist, and I'm 6 months pregnant. He left me to be with his ex. Okay, that's abandonment right there, by the way. They have a child together, so he's telling me that he's got to be there for his son. I'm living with my sister and her husband, and after I lost my job, my sister completely changed. She stopped talking to me, and he even told her mom that she hasn't seen me in weeks. Mom got mad at me too. Okay, so it looks like this person, so she's pregnant, she lost her job, she's feeling the strain of living with her sister, and she has a husband that ran and abandoned her and went back to his old girlfriend. You know, like I said, this is just to look at this question, that this stuff is really happening in the world is just, it's beyond me. It's so disturbing and so disgusting. And I see that the desperation in this person, because when you're not aware of what you're doing and getting caught up in, you get caught off guard, swept off your feet, loved bomb, tricked and fooled by narcissists. And this is the situation you're left in. So this person is in the situation where she's at ground zero. She has nothing, and she's pregnant. Her life has been stripped away, and she is at RK. Not only is she at RK, struggling with RK, but now that the husband's left, she's still married, but even the marriage is no longer considered a marriage. I mean, that once, if he went back to the ex, and that annihilates the marriage bond. That annihilates the covenant. It just does. Rips it apart. It's done. It's over. Right? And so he abandoned her. So at this point in time, she has every right for a divorce, to separate. She's already been abandoned in this marriage. The question she has is, would you consider my sister and mother a narcissist too? And that's so all of that to say, and the only question she has is my sister and mom a narcissist too? I would say this, because of what took place, because you've been abandoned, because you're at ground zero, you're going to start looking at everybody as being a narcissist. Don't do that. Instead, realize that you were in a very toxic relationship with a man who did not care about you, took your hand in marriage, got you pregnant, and ran back to his ex. That's a narcissist right there, for sure. That's evil, straight up, right? However, because of this broken place you've fallen into, where you have nothing, right? The struggle is not with your mother and your sister at this point. It's not with everybody else you come in contact with. Your struggle is in the three things I'm talking about through these videos. One is RK. You're in a broken down place where you have nothing left, and you have to rebuild your own life, beginning with your rebuilding your values, your integrity, your morals, your job, your ability to survive. You have to build this up, right? The second struggle that you have in this is probably the exousia, the spoken, the delegation. Because you were rejected, because you were abandoned, you probably have that delegation of being worthless, right? And so you're struggling against that. And then you're also going to be struggling against the wanting to the worldly distractions that are going to want to pull you out from where you're at. And so I wouldn't jump to answer your question. Would you consider sister and mother narcissist too? I wouldn't jump to that conclusion. I would jump to say right now your struggle is where you're at. That's plain and simple. And because people can't help you, listen. When you're in RK, it's not everybody can help you. This is a place where your parents may not be able to help you. Doesn't mean they're narcissists. It just means they cannot help you. This is something that you have to take on, right? You have to create. Okay, doesn't mean they're narcissists. It just means they're not capable of creating. And at some point, they're not going to be able to take care of you and give you everything you need either. So it's real easy to think that they're narcissists because they cannot give you everything. But that may not necessarily be true, right? So I'd need to know more information other than hearing the whole story about how your husband just left you and abandoned you, but now you're wondering if your mom and sister are narcissists. It's possible, but I don't know. But I would say overall, you have a much bigger struggle, which is exactly where you're at, in the position you're at. That's your struggle. I hope that makes sense. And then let's move on to, we'll take one more question here, and then if we don't get another telephone call, we'll go ahead and wrap this up. This comes from Rainbow Road McGo. Hi, I broke up 2 months ago. After an excruciating pattern of going back, I was given a house key. Shall I return it? Shall I keep it since I have no contact for 22 days now? I see a psychiatrist and a therapist to help break all the emotional ties. I realize he is just a moon reflecting a sun. Interesting. Taking my supply of energy. I was the source. He took my dignity. Now I am rebuilding successfully. Good. My life. Now homework, new friends, putting away guilt and shame. Good. So the question here is I broke up 2 months ago. I was given a house key. Shall I return the house key? I would say so. Absolutely. Get rid of it. Why should you carry any kind of a remnant of a relationship that you're no longer a part of? And that's what it is, right? Whether you put it in a drawer or whatever, it's a remnant that you don't need to have because you're trying to move on. So what would it be for you to put it in an envelope or in a baggie and have a friend of yours or something go and just put it in the mailbox? You don't have to go up to the house. You don't have to have your friend go up to the house. You just say, put this in the dude's mailbox. Be done with it, right? No note, nothing. Just put the key in there. Be done with it. Get it out of your possession. That's the primary thing there. So that would be my suggestion. Get rid of it. All right. That was a nice and easy one. But I often talk about it when people have things, either the narcissist things at their house or they want to get things from the narcissist house. I always resort to that. Listen, do it in a no contact way. One, if the narcissist has things of theirs at your place, get rid of it. Get it out of your sight, right? It's just bad juju. You don't need that. Bag it up, put it in a bag, set it out on the side of the house, and have a friend send a message saying, listen, you've got stuff you need to come pick up. It's sitting outside. And then just leave it there, right? Rain, shine, snow, hail, sleet. If they don't come pick up their stuff, whatever happens to it, happens to it. Raccoons and badgers tear the bag apart and run off with his shoes and underwear. So be it, right? No, it's not your responsibility. Don't make it. Your responsibility is to get it out of your sight, out of your house. So do that. Put gloves on, whatever you got to do. Get it out. As far as picking up your stuff from a narcissist, because I often get that question. Should I go and pick up my stuff? How do I get my stuff back? the first thing I ask is, well, what kind of stuff are we talking about here? I mean, are we talking really, really, really important stuff? Or is this a couple of lingerie pieces that you got, you know what I mean? Because is it worth it? What's it worth to have to go back, drive back to that place, grudge up all those memories, right? Just to try and get something. Okay? So if it's your old wore out records and CD collection, 3 or 4 CDs, who cares? Let it go. Couple t-shirts, who cares? Let it go. Right? Now if it's your great grandfather's World War I, Purple Heart of Honor that for whatever reason you had over there, then go and take some friends with you and go and pick it up. Never go alone though. Right? So it's all about what it is and make the best judgment as to whether or not it's worth it to visit the narcissist, to pick things up. Count your losses. What is it you're really losing there? All right. With that, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap up tonight's episode of the of the Royal We Live. I want to read some of the comments here. I like what the Mars 115 says. He took my Chicago Cubs bobbleheads. See, I mean, okay. I don't know. That's a tough one. The bobbleheads, I don't know. I think you should call in the National Guard and actually go and storm that door down and get those bobbleheads back. But listen, I want to thank you guys so much for being a part of the Royal We Live, and thank you for being here. And I hope that you had a great Monday night. I want to thank you. I'm going to put some music on for D-Doll and for Taylor. And for the moderators, thank you guys so much for being here. Good night to the Royal We family. Watch out for the new video that's going to be coming out. If not this week, then next week. And thank you so much for being a part of it. Be sure to visit Patreon. Consider supporting this live venture through Patreon if you have not yet already. Like and subscribe to this channel. And also, be sure to follow me on Instagram if you have not done that yet as well. And contact the moderators as far as the Facebook group goes. Facebook group is a great place to find healing as well. Thank you, everybody, so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of the Royal We Live. And we'll see you next Monday night. Have a great night, everybody.